in my experience in 15 years, that it's much more like this business is much more like a home if you own a home. And that is in the beginning, if you build a home brand new, everything kind of works, everything functions really well. But given time, things start to break down and there is going to be maintenance. Sometimes it's a little maintenance, sometimes it's a complete like remodel. And that's exactly what your network marketing business is going to look like. That's been my observation. I will tell you that it's also my observation that in some cases, you can build an organization that becomes so solid, depending on what your pay structure is, that you can definitely pull back on your level of activity, and your check continues to stabilize or grow. Like the saying is, in the beginning, you are grossly underpaid for the work you do. Then somewhere in the middle, you're kind of paid equally for the amount of effort you're putting in. But eventually, you're overpaid for the amount of work you're putting in. Hey, 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 what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Factory. I think this is number 32 or 33. We are well into 2025 now, and I'm in a rhythm with this podcast. I'm not saying that it's not effort, a lot of work, but I'm in a rhythm, and that's good. And that is sort of related to the topic that I've chose for you guys this week, and that is building with the end in mind. So think about when you join network marketing. Once I guess you realize that this thing was going to be a bigger opportunity or could be a bigger opportunity, when you finally, let's say, bought into the idea that this could be your full-time gig, okay, whenever that was, you maybe started thinking about the thought of having an organization, a business that, well, let's just say you sitting in some relaxed atmosphere. Maybe you're just sitting back on the beach, sipping pina coladas, and the checks are just rolling in, right? Maybe someone told you, you build it, and then the money just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming. Well, that's sort of the truth. But I will tell you that in my experience in 15 years, that it's much more like this business is much more like a home if you own a home. And that is in the beginning, if you build a home brand new, everything kind of works, everything functions really well. But given time, things start to break down and there is going to be maintenance. Sometimes it's a little maintenance, sometimes it's a complete like remodel. And that's exactly what your network marketing business is going to look like. That's been my observation. I will tell you that it's also my observation that in some cases, you can build an organization that becomes so solid, depending on what your pay structure is, that you can definitely pull back on your level of activity, and your check continues to stabilize or grow. Like the saying is, in the beginning, you are grossly underpaid for the work you do. Then somewhere in the middle, you're kind of paid equally for the amount of effort you're putting in. But eventually, you're overpaid for the amount of work you're putting in. And that is the truth. That is absolutely the truth. Because I look at my level of activity, and I can tell you that even though I'm still working, still putting time in, it's just a different type animal than it was in the beginning. And that's what this podcast is about, is building with the end in view. None of you that have decided to do this full time. I'm not saying you're full time. I think that's what this whole podcast is about helping people go from amateur to pro, helping them go from part time to full time. I think all of you, when you got started, had the idea of building this so that it could help your family, help you, but never with the idea of just working your tail off for the rest of your life. Like I don't think anybody starts any business or goes to any job thinking I just want to do this for the rest of my life. No. And so if that's what you don't want to happen, then you better have a plan in place. And so that's what we're about this week, is building with the end in mind. And so there's a few things that I've noticed that I want you guys to maybe take a little bit of inventory in your own business to see what you're doing and to see if you're actually building with the end in mind. So in my opinion, the business that I want and that I think a lot of people want is one that does allow you to pull back in the intensity in network marketing as far as the amount of work you're doing. Because listen, one of the reasons why a lot of people are not successful at a high level in network marketing is because it takes an extraordinary amount of sacrifice to get to the highest levels. And that sacrifice is time. And it's the most precious time that most people have to come to grips with. And so it's when I say the most precious time, most people that maybe had a normal job, when they get home from work, whatever time that is, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, the rest of that time is their time. Like, they shut down. It's my time. Like, I get to do things I want. I went and worked all this time. Now this is my time. Well, if you're building any business, a network marketing business included, there is no my time. Not when you're grinding. Like your phone, depending on the situation, is always on, and depending on who it is that's trying to get a hold of you for whatever reason, you may be taking that call. None of you want to do that indefinitely. So the only way to not do that indefinitely is to build enough leadership in your organization so that you're no longer taking those calls. They are taking those calls. And I've just noticed, at least in our compensation plan, you're going to need, and this goes for most, like depending on like if you're in a unilevel binary, you're going to need 3 or 4 leaders, solid leaders, maybe 5, but 3 for sure, that are each making about $20,000 a month. And they're in different organizations within your organization. They're in different legs, different organizations, different revenue sources. Not 3 in one leg, not 3 in 2, but like 3 separate leaders, 3 different organizations. And if you really want a solid organization, I would say having 1 or 2 of those maybe outside of the country, like having a leader or 2 in different countries even gives you more insulation. Because if something goes awry in one country, it doesn't affect the other leaders in the other country for the most part. So that is very difficult to attain. A lot of you that are listening to this podcast right now are not even making 20 grand a month yourself. But if you don't plan with the end in mind, you're never going to get there. Here's what I'm thinking. Most people just chase volume. Like you're trying to get to that 20 grand a month. So you're just chasing volume, however you can get it. Here's the new system. Here's the new algorithm. Here's the new way we're going to go do the business. Here's the new promo. Here's the new whatever. They're just chasing volume, month to month, chasing volume, chasing promos, chasing challenges and campaigns. And it leads to burnout. It absolutely leads to burnout. Okay. So instead of chasing volume, like I think about, it's like getting in a car without knowing truly where you're going to go and just driving really fast. Like you're just going to go down this street and drive as fast as you can on this one street And then as soon as it makes sense, or you get tired of driving down that street, you're going to turn and you're going to go down the next street and you're going to drive as fast as you can down that street until you get frustrated. And no, that's like insanity. No one would do that. But yet, that's what a lot of people, maybe you, are doing in your network marketing business. You're just running in different directions. When if you would just sit back and plan for where you want this thing to be in 5 years, then you wouldn't be going left and right, left and right. It would be straight point A to point B. So I'm going to share with you how I've been able to do that. A lot of people are surprised. I've only been with one network marketing company for 15 years. Well, to me, some of it was the fact that we did become highly successful at this one company. Because if we weren't, we probably would have had to go on to another company, right? And the other thing is the company did survive. So if a company shuts down, of course, you're going to go to another company. But nevertheless, I think there are things that we have done that have contributed to us being involved for 15 years, still highly involved, still putting in the time, but enjoying it, enjoying the process, and not burning out. I told some people just this week, one of the art, like there's an art to this business. Like I love, a true artist in their business, and they're all in all different industries, right? But when you see a true artist in their business, it's pretty incredible to watch. Well, one of the things that's in art in network marketing is experiencing burnout as a leader, but your team never picking up on that is an art. I have been burned out or experiencing burnout multiple times. But some of the things I'm going to share with you is what kept me from getting to the point where I like physically couldn't do the work anymore. Okay. And it's because I was told the very beginning, like, do this thing with the end in mind. Right. So let me share with you a couple things. In my opinion, and this is I think next week's episode, I'm going to do on trust. Okay. Because I think trust is so important in business, but really important in network marketing to build a team. In my opinion, you're never going to build trust in an organization or those leaders that I told you about, helping people get to that 20,000. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they have to trust that you can get there. Oh, and by the way, you have to be there and have done it in order for someone to believe that you can help them do it. Just that might be something that would go without being said, or it should be not necessary to be said, but there you go. I believe you're going to have to do a certain level of in-person type events to build that trust. Okay. So now what does that look like? Like, how can you sustain that long term? And so I know a lot of people that really are sold on the online way of doing this business. What I mean is they're just strictly in social media, right? Strictly in social media or strictly on a Zoom. And that's how they're going to build this business. I have yet to see it successful in any company over the last 15 years because it doesn't build trust. It doesn't build those relationships. Okay. So that means you're, in my opinion, going to have to do some live events. I have done a live team call or a team call every week for basically 15 years, but for sure 14 plus years. And there has been many of those weeks where I didn't want to do the call, but we did the call. And one of the things that I always think about is I look at my income and then I just kind of divide by the amount of events or activity I do. So for instance, I'm just giving you a for instance, okay? We'll use round numbers. Let's say my income was $40,000 a month. And what built my team and what sustained my team is that weekly call. Doing that weekly call every week is what built it. and sustained it. Well, I used to think like, does that mean I'm getting paid $10,000 per team call? Think about that for a second. Would you do a team call every week for as long as it took to get those 3 leaders, that stability in your organization? Would you do that for 10 grand a week? And I bet the answer for all of you is absolutely, I would do that. What if what if it was what if it was a weekly call and one live event in your town? Do the math on that. Like, so, now we got 5 live events. What's that? Let's do some quick math. So now it's $8,000 you're getting paid per event. Would you do 4 team calls and one live event for 8 grand per event? I mean, that's pretty high ticket, right? What if it included some travel? What if you had to get on a plane once a month and go visit a team? I mean, the number keeps coming down, but then you ask yourself, what is it worth it? And so do this exercise. Now, I'm not saying with your current income, but with the end in mind, do the exercise. Pick the number that maybe the people that are mentoring you, maybe there's some people that you're working with, you might know what they're making. In fact, this might be a great exercise for you. If you're not making 20, this would be a great exercise. If you're not making 20 grand a month, find someone in your organization, your team, your uplines that is making 20 grand a month, and have them outline for you what their activity looks like over the month and see if that's something you want to duplicate. I think that's a great exercise. And I know it's a great exercise because if you are making 20 grand or more a month, 40 grand, whatever the number is, 20 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand a month, if that is you, the other side of this thing is if you really want to build something with the end in mind, you better be doing something that looks like what other people would like to do. Let me explain. Several years ago, I had a guy I went to school with that I was working on recruiting, and we were messaging back and forth. And he asked me what I did because he saw me traveling a lot, and I thought like, okay, here we go. I think he's gonna want to jump on board with me. And pretty quickly he said, "Hey, listen, looks like on social media, every time I see you, you're on a plane or on an airport somewhere traveling." And he's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. And man, it made me really sit back and think like, I'm putting the wrong stuff out in social media, because he's right. I was putting pictures of this town and with these people and these meetings, and I was going here and going there. And it was a pretty busy season of my life in airplanes. And I'm like, you know what? He's right. I need to be careful about what I'm putting on social media, because the reality is that's not true. Here's the reality. I've identified for my family and my team that it requires me being on the road. Like, when I mean on the road, that means in a market 5 to 6 nights a month. And what it really looked like is I would be out of town 3 nights. I'd fly home, then I was home the whole next week. And then that following week, I'd fly out again for 2 or 3 nights. And then I was home for the rest of that week and then all of the next week. So you guys get what I'm saying? Like, 5 to 6 nights, usually in 5 to 6 different cities, is what I did consistently to build our paycheck. Now, some of you may go, whoa, 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 that is a lot. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, without disclosing my income on this podcast, I've sat back and thought about it, and I would keep that. If that's all it took for me to do is to get on the plane and be in 5 or 6 different cities every month, I would do that over and over and over and over again. And I have been able to maintain that. Now, during COVID and coming out of COVID, the rules of the game changed. And to be honest with you, we're still trying to build that muscle back. We're still trying to build that live event, live meeting muscle back that I know is so critical to building these organizations and building trust. We're still building that muscle. But I'm telling you that you need to build this thing with the end in mind, thinking, could I do that? Now, maybe you're like, nope, I can't do that. Okay, then you need to have a different type strategy to be able to get to the end goal. The end goal is having those leaders in place so that you don't have to be the one under the gun all the time, creating. Now, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, no organization is built and stays built perfect forever. There's going to be turnover. There's going to be life happens. Things are going to happen. Okay. But building with the end in mind. I know so many people that have sold this crock of garbage that you can do this whole thing online and that it gives them such freedom. Now, maybe you can do it all online. Maybe you know someone they do 100% of this business online and they make a ton of money. Well, yeah, but I've seen some of those people. I've been in the groups with some of those people. I've been in some masterminds with them. I've just been in person with a lot of these people that are heavy presence online. And it's so sad to me because they can't be human. They are glued to their cell phone. They cannot let their cell phone down. They're constantly in chats, 4 or 5 chats. They're over here trying to keep the algorithm buzzing. They're over here trying to create some new content. It's just insanity. I don't want that life. I don't want to be a slave to a cell phone. I want to be able to say when I'm done, I am done. Like I'm not available. My team knows there's certain time blocks I am not available because I have built my organization with the end in mind. I have built my organization in a way right now that I can sustain my level of activity for decades longer. I've been in for 15 years. I can do this for another 15. I can do it for another 25 if I choose to. Because I built my business with the end in mind, with the behaviors and the activities. So what I'm saying on this podcast, guys, is don't chase the volume. Don't go just trying to do it this way and then realizing you may be creating volume, but you're miserable. Creating volume, creating a paycheck, but being miserable is not fun. That is not what you signed up for. I want you to really envision what you want your business to look like 5 years from now and start working backwards towards that. And I'm going to tell you at the core of it needs to be leadership development. What are the activities? What are the things that are going to help you build leadership, which comes from trust in your organizations? And then do it with the end in mind so that you can be ridiculously consistent. I am ridiculously consistent. And that has led to our success and why our organizations are as strong as they are and why our paycheck is as solid as it is. So I hope this message today, you get something out of it, because there were so many branches I could go off into with this thing. But the basic message is figure out if you want to build online or offline. Like figure out if you want to be in person or if you want to do both. Figure out if you want to do a hybrid of both, because you could do all three. You can be 100% online. You can be 100% offline. It comes with a different set of needs and maybe your personality. My personality doesn't mesh with 100% online. It just doesn't, because I'm not that person. I like to shut things off. Like I want to be able to shut things off and be in total control of my time. And I've yet to see that happen with a cell phone online business. Maybe it's a hybrid. Maybe it's in the middle where you're doing some stuff online, some stuff in person. That's where I land in this business. I tend to believe that's what's the strongest way to attack this thing, is to have a really strong online presence and also have a in-person type mentality to your organization. But anyway, Think about what you want, how you want to be running your business 5 years from now, and start doing that today. And then just be ridiculously consistent. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. The next one's going to be on trust. Next episode is going to be on trust and how to build it. You guys have a great week. We'll see you soon.